You're listening to the Foreign and International Medical Graduate Show, a podcast to inspire physicians in the process of immigration to the United States and access to graduate medical education. We create meaningful and helpful content that motivates medical students and doctors throughout the world, with the goal of creating a community that supports itself and gives feedback to each other, that stays updated with the most recent tips and advice on how to make it in America and become a successful resident or fellow in the speciality of your dreams. Dr. Alonso Osorio is board certified and residency trained in both emergency and family medicine and will be bringing you 20 years of his personal experiences, struggles, and motivation. We'll be chatting with people like you to talk about the lessons they've learned along their personal path, how to make an impact, and how we can all benefit from it. Also, we'll analyse the current resources available and how to benefit from them. Thanks for joining us. Please enjoy the show.
Hello, superstars, and welcome back to the Foreign and International Medical Graduate Podcast. And this is episode number 26 with the second part of a series of episodes completely dedicated to interviewing skills. And I thought that the perfect person to bring back into our show, as I promised, because she was fantastic, has been Dr. Shae Datta. Dr. Shae Datta has been kind enough to get some time off of her new job to come and share with us her interviewing skills point of view, because that's what she's doing right now, advising people over the internet that are interested or improving their interviewing skills, their matching possibilities, and in general, just to be successful at finding a residency position. The last time we spoke, Dr. Datta, welcome back, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for being here. The last time that you and I had spoken, you were here in Florida, in Gainesville, and now you're up in New York. And you have a brand new job as an attending physician. You're the Director of Concussion and Neurotrauma and Cognitive Neurology at NYU Langone Health in New York City. And she just completed her fellowship at the University of Florida. And she's also the Vice Chair of a Sports Neurology section for the American Academy of Neurology. And through her Facebook page, she has been assisting hundreds of you to become successful at getting your residency match. And, well, she's here with us. Dr. Datta, I'm extremely excited to have you back in the podcast. And tell us how it is New York. Do you miss Florida? What is life like right now during this COVID-19 winding down epidemic, I would say?
Yeah, you know what? We're basically in the epicenter of what I describe as COVID hell. And I wouldn't know how it is anywhere else in the country, but just the sheer volume of numbers and just in terms of the people that are hospitalized and ventilated is the most in the country, as everybody knows. But there are some very, very good success stories. Most hospitals are now extubating or discharging their 1,000 or 800 COVID patients. So there's a lot of good news as well on the side where we are getting on the other side of this with multiple factors because of the patient's health, pre-existing immune system was good enough to fight it off or whatever it was that was done early. Unfortunately, I have a family member who's on a ventilator and is on ECMO currently. My mom was hospitalized earlier this month, but she's on the other side of getting better, thankfully. And I was pretty distressed, I have to tell you, for a long time because a lot of my family members are in medicine and they tested positive and were symptomatic. And I couldn't do anything about it. My hands were tied. I could not go and even help them. I had to mail them Tylenol. I was thinking I might have to mail other things, but, at least they had enough masks. And then we had to mail them, cleaning supplies and things of that nature. So thankfully, family is on the road to recovery. Please pay for my aunt. She's a gastroenterologist in Ohio. She's still being weaned off the vent and still on ECMO and suffered some complications. So we're still praying. My
prayers are with them, Dr. Datta. Wow. Well, that's tough to be able to get back to normal life, having such a degree of concern of your family members being potentially extremely ill or dying from such a harsh illness. And I guess, the epidemic just came a little after people had completed their match. And so I probably suspect that potentially the amount of potential clients and customers and people looking for consulting services has winded down as the interviewing and matching process has gone over with, correct?
Right. So there are like two phases to the match cycle, as you know. Currently, this time from the end of one match until interview season, people are beefing up their CVs by trying to do observerships, internships, getting a handle around their personal statements and their CVs, and basically trying to do a strategy just to see, like, are they going to apply to the same thing if they were unsuccessful last time? Why were they unsuccessful? How can they improve their application? And what it is that they really want. So, but there are different things happening. It's not so much interview practice right now, more sort of the background stuff like we
got it. So today for our listeners, I want to make sure that we get a little bit of this quality time with Dr. Datta. The purpose of the interview is to structure it in 4 segments. Those 4 segments are going to be on the things that I want to probably everybody to understand. The first segment will be the process and the period before the interview itself. The second segment that we're going to talk about, the second part of the structure interview, will be what is going to be like the night before the interview, or what we call the pre-interview dinner if you can attend. Part 3 will be the morning of the interview or the interview day itself. And we're going to try to dissect a few questions in each one of those sections. And the last one is going to be about post-interview communication and until all the way into the match day. So obviously, guys, there's a lot to cover, but I'm going to try to kind of narrow it down and ask Dr. Datta about some specific things that many of my listeners and my followers have inquired about. The next episode of our podcast is going to be me giving a little bit of more of a structure on interviewing skills. And then we're going to follow this up with a Colombian doctor, Daniela Rodriguez, that has gone through 4 interviewing process. And I'm going to use her experience on what it's like to go through interviewing process and the things that she has discovered herself that have been helpful or harmful through the interviewing process that have led her so far not to match, but to be very close to success. And having said that, please go back to Residency Success with Dr. Shae Datta on her website that I think is amazing. We have developed a little network of podcasters regarding foreign medical graduates, international medical graduates, interviewing skills, buffing up your CV, how to be successful as a doctor in America. So this is just good stuff. So Dr. Datta, using your expertise, before the interview, obviously, is probably this time of the year right now when everybody's wrapping up all their USMLE step 1 and 2, making sure that potentially some other people take a step 3, building their resume, their personal statement, working on rotations, letters of recommendation. So how someone could potentially become an attractive applicant before they go into the interview?
You know, this is unprecedented time, as you know, Alonso. All of the testing centers are closed for metric. Everybody's been let go from medical student duties, whether you're an AMG or an IMG, it doesn't matter. I am actually doing a lot of education over Zoom for our medical students and residents from home as well. So I think because of that fact, it's been extra challenging because nobody knows what's going to happen. Are we going to still have the same opening September 15th or whatever of the match cycle? Are we going to, if the economy reopens sometimes in May, because we're right now in the end of April, are we going to push the opening date back from September to October? It could be possible just because of the fact that, and it could be a shorter interview cycle time where they do a lot of interviewing, just like how you're doing over Zoom, to maximize their time. So they don't have to coordinate with travel and people flying in and out and perhaps getting sick. And, and that also comes with its own set of struggles and sort of challenges, which I'll talk about in a second. So this is what's happening. And also, do you feel that you've gotten any word about things being rescheduled or, because so far I haven't heard of it. It's just been what we've been discussing with our colleagues and kind of wait and see approach.
What I have seen is just the USMLE and the ECFMG website just kind of giving us frequent updates regarding when they're going to be opening back their testing sites and potentially giving applicants a period of quote unquote forgiveness or a broader kind of time frame to take the test. But as of the residency itself, I have a very close attending of mine, Dr. Kelly O'Keefe, that just finished his second class, and I don't know, usually keeps me up to date. I haven't heard anything about it. I know that you're now involved in academics, so it's going to be a significant kind of change in the regular season, and how things are going to happen. I would say we're going to take it one step at a time as it kind of comes along, but we're going to need to match people. So I don't know if it's going to be tougher to find a spot or easier to find a spot, but definitely it's going to be something challenging.
Yeah, I think the timeline is going to be challenging, but I do feel that there are certain things, even me sitting on the residency interview committee this year versus all of the other years, I'm going to be a little more lenient about the stipulations. I think I might, like the first answer question is, what have you done from last year till this year? I want to see an attempt. I want to see you guys at least try to get some type of volunteer activities because they're really looking. There are, in New Jersey now, they're even taking foreign doctors that have licenses in their country that have perhaps practiced to come in and volunteer. I want to see some type of effort on your part, whether it's manning a crisis center, or taking phone calls or helping somebody. What have you done to use your time wisely? And even if that means that you're pursuing more education. In my group specifically, I have posted so many resources I think you see about COVID education, ventilator management. So let's say if I want to be a jerk in the interview, which I normally don't be a jerk, that can be tough sometimes, just to crack people. Normally my favorite thing to do is just eat lunch, get up and walk around the campus with them. Just walk and ask questions, walk and talk, throw them off so that they're not expecting that,
You're going to dissect them psychologically?
Sometimes I do just to see, you know what, look, one thing about residency is being in the trenches, it's very, very tough emotionally and mentally. And so if you can't handle just a residency interview, I just feel that that's probably a very small thing to ask for the rest of your life,
Yes.
And secondly, I feel that in addition to this, I think there's a lot of things that we can expect now that will change. You have to understand that when you start as a resident, whether it's July or they extend it to September 1st as a new incoming class, that all of you are going to be on the front lines for at least another year. Whether you're radiology, whether you're psychiatry or pathology, everybody's been deployed to take care of these patients. And so do some self-education, learn about this virus, learn about proper donning and doffing of garments. So tell me what you've done with your time and how you've used it wisely. I understand there's people whining about test centers being closed. Use that time wisely to then if you come with a low score again when the testing centers open, I'll be like, what are you doing? You are under lockdown.
Correct. Piggybacking to that comment, this is the moment to really personalize then a personal statement to make it more intimate, more particulate, more shiny, something that potentially could stand out that will make you kind of look great.
Right.
I just had Dr. Ted O'Connell. He said that whatever you want to say, you need to say it in the first paragraph, and you really need to declare your interest for whatever specialty you choose from moment number one. So whatever you did, or you need to make it powerful and significant from word number one, correct?
Right. I think he's talking about the hook. We always talk about the hook in medicine, whether it's when we're talking to each other or when we're showing somebody a personal statement. They should read it and they want to go on, right? You and I have so much clickbait on the internet every day. We don't have time. If I click on something, it doesn't hook me in the first 2 lines, I'm not going to read it. So that's the bottom line. Also, personal statements are stale from year to year to year. And thanks to all of this memorizing and studying that we do, we have pretty good memories, right? So sometimes I read people's personal statements more than once, and I remember them from the previous year. And that doesn't bode well for a person if they have nothing new to add or they haven't changed it around somewhat, So for you to take the same stale personal statement and recycle it every year kind of shows a little less effort on your part as well.
And one classic example was the fact that before I got you on the phone right now today, I asked you, well, it's been a month or a month and a half since we have spoken last. I know your life circumstances have changed drastically from being a fellow. Now you're an attending physician and you're directing a concussion center. And you said, yes, Alonso, I already updated my CV, and I went into your LinkedIn page and everything was there. So it's so dynamic, it's ever changing. Anything that you have accomplished has to be there. I'm going to tell you the truth, I'm not really good at it. But in your personal case, that you're an academician and a professor and an attending physician linked in education, I think is more crucial in education to have your credentials very current and up to date, correct?
Yes, and you tend to forget. So there's even stuff on there. So I'll tell you, as part of the application strategy that I'm doing with my students, some of them just really don't know how to network. I'm actually teaching them. I actually sit with them and obviously give them an example of my LinkedIn. That's not even the best one. We go around and look at other LinkedIn pages and create one for them. So I advise them on how to use, I'm not really on Twitter. It's a little bit of a cesspool in my mind, but they're welcome to use Twitter. They're welcome to use LinkedIn to network with people, and then, so it's not like you just randomly send someone an email and message during the interview season, hey, can you help me? Right? You have to build relationships.
Correct.
Someone asked me to recommend them. You're putting me in a tough spot because unless I've worked with you, unless I have seen your caliber, I don't want to look bad in front of my department or somewhere that I've worked 20 years to build my reputation in front of, and somebody comes in and ruins it, right?
Yes. Just recently, actually, just pitching into that, somebody just gave me a call out of nowhere and he said, please help Dr. X. And she said, hey, I just want to, after a brief 2-minute introduction of who she was, she wanted me to just try to go and contact whoever I knew to get her into any residency program, not knowing much about her. So over the last 20 years, I have built a reputation in the community. I just kind of just go and recommend anyone that I don't really know or have met. I definitely need to spend some degree of time with you. And I've been recommending people, for example, that I work with, like medical students, writing letters of recommendations, techs, paramedics, people that are working with me on the trenches in the emergency department, somebody I have been there for 3 to 6 months, a year or two, that I've gotten to know personally. I've known their character, their work ethic, their commitment, their organizational skills, the capacity to manage multiple tasks at the same time, their timeliness. All those things, I think, will allow me to give you a good support for who you are when I am speaking on your behalf to other prominent attending physicians that are managing or teaching or will be attending at that residency program that you're applying to. So it's not that easy. You have to understand that we also get put in a funny spot, and our reputation is everything here, like everywhere else, but in America.
Yeah, you know what? Thank you so much, Dr. Alonso, for clarifying that. You said it in such an eloquent way, and you took the words right out of my mouth, right? This is exactly what it's like people think you're being mean or something like that, but it's not about that. It's really making sure you're the right fit for the job also, right? There are a lot of times in my life that I haven't gotten opportunities, and looking back now, I'm thankful, like, for example, certain fellowships that I applied to and I interviewed for, I felt like there was one that I didn't get, a colleague got it, but then this fellowship that I did, the sports neurotrauma, I'm one of only maybe 25 people in the country with this fellowship. And I feel so fortunate to have been turned away from what I thought I wanted to do, and get something later on. So it's worth the wait. Also, like you're saying, never have that feeling that you put across to people that you feel like you're entitled, right? The sense of entitlement can come across in conversations very easily. You and I both know, being from countries that they can be a little bit corrupt at times. And
yeah, let's dig into that. Tell me. I love to hear that, because definitely sometimes it stands out during an interview. Go ahead.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah, I would love to hear your take on it. But when I kind of feel like someone feels like, oh my God, I did all this, I deserve a spot. Or I got this score, so I deserve a spot. I got all 260s and I did research here. sure, you are probably going to be the person who comes in here and kills all the shelf exams and knows your information. But are you a person that people are going to want to work with? And that's been a huge issue for residency program directors. The people that know all the answers, they can answer on a dime, but all of their colleagues hate them and nobody wants to work with them or have their back, right?
You know what I've been doing for the last 2.5 years? I realized that I knew too much about medicine, but I didn't know too much about life. And I saw myself being a really good doctor and a great clinician. I think I'm a good person, but I didn't know much about stuff on how to network and connect with other people. Mm-hmm. So I started this personal development program through reading books about personal growth. And I've dedicated myself also specifically the last 2 months to read books about interpersonal skills, nonverbal language, facial expressions, and overall body positions. And the amount of good things that I have gathered over, I would say, 100 hours of listening time on these books from different people, it's amazing. You know, how your hands, your shoulder posture, your demeanor, your hair, your eyebrows, little wings, and some specific things that you had mentioned before. I think micro signals or little hints that you meant to say something, but your little tweak really doesn't reveal the true essence and that you're committed to that thought, and that gives you up. All those things. So I thought that for me to get better at other things that I was not better at has to really help me to pick up some good stuff for the future. For this, I'm doing it for you guys. I'm trying to just to get better, because when I listen back to my first episodes, they sucked. The way I was expressing myself, I decided my first 2 episodes, for example, they were sitting down, and now I have to do them standing up because I'm a very dynamic, hyper person. I have to use my hands. I have to use my body. I have to see myself kind of jiggling around. So I don't know.
Yeah, that comes with the territory, right?
So yeah, so I would say that another thing that probably people could work on is improving not only expressive language, but the non-expressive language. The body postures are things that you and I have spoken about, right?
Right, absolutely. And so look at this, guys. You're listening to a podcast from a physician who's made it, who's in the ER, in the trenches, treating COVID, in his full hazmat suit every day, but he's still behind the scenes improving himself. I cannot stress how important that is. You can never come to a point where you feel like everything is good enough. Like, so I'll give you an example, right? This personal development thing is very important. I applied for and was picked for this American Academy of Neurology women's leadership sort of program. And while we went to our national meeting, I attended a couple, and I thought I knew it all. But of course not. You know, you learn so much from the leaders in the field about this verbal, nonverbal expression, and generally how to walk into a room and without saying anything influence people, you know? And I think there's a lot to learn. I think people have heavily in other places just really fallen back on their credentials. While those are really good, sometimes you can go into an interview and blow me away and say, hey, look, I want that person on their team. I remember when I went to the place where I did my neurology residency, it was a mini round table of the program director, the director of stroke, the co-residency director, and the chief resident. So all of the big kahunas around the table. And I had just taken 2 subways and a bus, and I was a little bit like kind of spinning and sitting, you know, in front of them. And you know, I leaned in and I answered all their questions. And whenever somebody would talk, I would smile. And I held it together that when I left there, the stroke director, who later became my mentor, was like, I want her. And they were like, well, we still have other people to interview. They're like, I don't care. I want her.
Yep, there you go.
She told me this later, you know. And when I came out of the interview and I said, well, you know, it would be nice. I know that, you know, the decision's made during the match process, but it's very stressful and it's difficult, you know, for the candidates. And it was a small enough program that I feel like there was a lot more personal attention. And she said, well, I believe that candidates that we really like, and she winked at me, should really know, you know, that we intend on giving them good feedback. So that gave me good feedback, you know what I mean? Some people say, oh, I got good feedback, I didn't match. But
I'm going to ask you more about that on the 4th segment I know
Sure.
you're so entertaining to talk to that every little word that comes out of your mouth is a bunch of goodness. So, by the way, many people that have reached out to me, they talk about Dr. Datta. I would like to work with Dr. Datta. I said, go ahead. She's the one to work with. I think I could help you, but she's the one. So I hope you're getting plenty of business because I'm not getting any.
It's been okay, actually. I think the personal statement and the CV is my least favorite thing to work on, but I do it for the greater good of the doctor community.
Yeah. You know? By the way, talking about CV, really quick, little brush up on it. I've seen some simple CVs that are really attractive and easy to kind of read through, and I've seen some other ones that are overwhelmingly complicated, colorful, disorganized, columns here and columns there. What's your 3 cents on that?
3 cents is stick to the subject. I recently edited a CV that had, cafeteria duty, church painting, while they're all very noble things to do, it's just not applicable to a medical CV. I know that you've done other things and some other things that were really good, like working or volunteer with the medical association. There were acronyms that nobody could know that it was a medical association that they had gone to Haiti for. Do you know what I mean? So they don't know what are the right things to put to the forefront and what things to kind of leave out. And that's where I come in.
Cool beans. As we move along to the second part, some of the things that I've been hearing is showing up to the interview and not having done enough research and asking literally stupid questions of things that are already very well known and posted on the website or on Frida's or that are public knowledge and that an applicant should be. And that sometimes is being perceived like the resident is not ready at all. So how much can you say on doing your own research and the hard work and putting the legwork to know about where you're going to be interviewing?
So while what you say is true, Alonso, I know during interview season when people are interviewing and traveling and trying to multitask with whatever jobs or residency things they have, and let's say they have multiple interviews. When they come to me, I do that for them. I actually do that for them. I structure homework. I actually do a lot of like digging, sort of like people, one of my interview candidates, we used to call me like CSI doc because I was like, if I wasn't a doctor, I'd be a detective because I'm like very good at picking up nonverbal cues and environmental cues wherever I go. And I really find out all this dirt about the person so that we can use it in the interview to connect with them. And that's more than most people are able to do just because I don't know, there's a way that I do it that yields me a lot of information on people. And people are like, I never found this. How did you get this on me, So I can understand if you're overwhelmed and you haven't done it, but that doesn't mean that when you want to get into the interview, I'm going to understand that you're a single mom and you were up all night and you traveled all night to come here, and I'm not going to give you a break. So find a way to get it done. Get someone that's a mentor like me. Get a friend to look it up for you so you can prepare. But the point is, once you have that information, what do you do with it? The application of that knowledge to that conversation is the most important part of your interview.
That's gold. Wow, that was awesome. So as we move along and we did all the preparation, we're showing up, we're taking a plane, we're driving into a city for that wonderful first interview, let's say, number one. In my case, I'm going to give you an example. I never knew what was a pre-interview dinner and gathering. So they said, let's meet at this bar or restaurant in downtown X. And I showed up and they have this fantastic food spread, and I have people passing around little hand-picking food, and there is alcohol. And so it was a whole different world for me. It's a different dress code. It's a different kind of setting. There's more residents and young people kind of hanging out, not really attendings because the attendings are being left for the night before. But I think it's a little bit of a scouting coming from the current residents of the program and what are these people like in social environments. So the question goes, how important is to attend the night before the interview dinner, and what should be your behavior about drinking, behaving, eating, interacting, networking, etc.?
That's a very, very good question, and I think one that's not addressed enough.
It's loaded, so take it easy.
It's a loaded question, and it also is where a lot of people, especially IMGs, they whisper to each other and give each other all this weird advice about things that are not true. Okay, people like, don't drink. Okay, here's the thing. Are you a person who drinks 2 sips of alcohol and goes giddy? Then don't drink. Know thyself, right? If you're a person that can, I always say when you show up at a dinner, eat a reasonable snack beforehand so you're not like, ripping like the meat off the drumstick and you look so famished, so you have to have table manners, etiquette, know how to use which utensil first as well, right? So there have been times where I've been at this thing, I haven't eaten anything all day and I can't even focus on the conversation because I'm so hungry. I've been there, so don't be like me. And it's perfectly fine to hold a glass of beer or a glass of wine, just one glass, and nurse it the entire time. Wow. Because in my opinion, there are most residents in a certain age group, let's say between 20 and 35, and they're social and they want to know that they can hang with you. They don't want like somebody who just cannot hang. You're welcome to have your own personality. Also with religious beliefs, I know there are some cultures where they're not going to touch the alcohol, and that's perfectly fine as well. If someone asks, you can say, no, thank you. I don't drink.
I also made my best friend during residency training the night before the interview.
That's so great.
And his name is Aaron Osborne. And he said later on, I think he never told me this, probably a year into the program, and he was 6 months ahead of me because I was off cycle. He said, Alonso, I think you and I really connected that night before the interview. He was pounding beer, but he was on the other side, He's a very pleasant guy, but I think me and him just hit it off because we were very outspoken people. And he spoke great on my behalf to the residency program director, the associate program director.
Yeah, it can happen.
Interceded for myself during the application process. And I think that gave me brownie points. And he said something to me, Alonso, by the way, out of 150 people that we brought for an interview, you were the only one that sent me a handwritten thank you note. And I still have it to this day. Imagine that.
So nice. Yeah, the personal touch. A lot of times people go to these interviews, and I've done pre-interview dinners, I've done lunches and all these things and they're just so stiff that they're making me uncomfortable. Like I feel my shoulders getting tight just because the other person is like mimicking that behavior, and you kind of get stressed out along with them. You try to get to know them. And it's also very nice to show interest in the people that are there. They're giving up time with their family and away from whatever they'd rather be doing than meeting a bunch of strangers. So engage them, and I teach those tactics too, how to engage them and what you're going to say, and according to your personality. Like if I gauge you when I work together that you're not Alonso, then I try to teach you it's okay to be yourself, but at the same time, try to align yourself with someone who matches your speed the most. That's it.
Like this guy that I just told you about.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I mean.
So not too much alcohol. In my case, I had a beer and a half. I had a snack. My belly was a little full. I didn't get wasted. I didn't get tipsy. And I was safe enough to be able to drive back to the hotel. So I got plenty of rest. And I had a fantastic night. And the next day is the real day. So other than waking up on time, setting up an alarm or 2 or 3, so in case you don't kind of snooze it off, you get ready, you get either pretty or very professionally dressed, not overdone, and you show up to the hospital. Obviously, you need to time everything well, depending on the city that you're interviewing. If you're in New York City, it might take you forever to make it to the hospital. If you're in Los Angeles, you're probably stuck in traffic. So just plan ahead so you're there. So once you make it to the interview site, you said that from the moment that you walk in, you're given a personal appearance. So what are your advice from that moment that you walk in on as the morning goes along? What things from being part of the residency interview committee through the years, what do you think you can say about that?
I think we're not unreasonable if emergencies happen and you happen to be, because of the emergency, like delayed or like plane or whatever it is, or natural, like snow or whatever, because usually the interview season's during the winter, it's fine. But, you never know what can happen. Always give yourself a buffer of at least 45 minutes to an hour. And, like there are countless people when there's just like someone doing the introduction for the residency program, they're just on their phone the whole time.
Yeah, that's so disappointing, correct?
Right. It's disappointing. It's disrespectful.
Shows
like,
no engagement.
It's not important enough for you to pay attention.
For me, I don't care. It's like I don't care attitude. I care more about what they're texting me than
be
actually.
careful with the phone. The phone takes away a lot of points.
Would you advise people, instead of using the phone to take notes, just to use a notepad and they're a professional?
I like that better. I'm old fashioned. I still take notes. Like, look at my list over here, list of things to do here. So
Dr. Datta is showing me a very organized sheet of paper in which he has potentially her day schedule, or
it's not really organized.
Or potentially the topics of discussions for today's interview, but
right.
Taking notes is crucial.
Yeah, I think having that little leather-bound notepad where you're taking notes and using something from the presentation, like there are some inside things people just miss because they're just glossing over. They're just kind of like tired. It's early in the morning. You can always ask more about the hospital and things that are presented. Like, oh, so you got the stroke wing in 2009. Tell me a little bit about how that's changed the face of the hospital since you've been a physician here. You think anybody else is going to ask that? No, it shows you paid attention, that you care, Some people have said, don't even ask about salary and how much vacation time, because that's pretty much set for all the residents across the United States. Or ridiculous. Just know that you're not going on vacation.
Or ridiculous things like, am I going to work hard? I remember one person asking me, oh my God, you do 22 shifts of 12 hours each as an intern all the way through seniorship with no pyramid or way to wind down? I said, you know what? You have 3 years or 10,000 hours to become a specialist at what you do. So don't come here asking for less training, less patient exposure, less hands-on experience, less surgical case if you're a surgeon. That if you're in it, like you and I have spoken before, you've been 20 years in the making to come to where you are at NYU, and it didn't come easily. You have delayed your life as a mother potentially, and have delayed many things in your life just by sacrificing. So that if you're gonna interview somewhere, you're gonna be there and be committed, correct?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And the thing is, think about this, guys. Think about you taking a person's life in their hands, or your family member going to Dr. Alonso, and he was the one who skipped out on all his rotations, especially the intubation one, and they're like, coding, and Dr. Alonso comes to the bedside and like, is there a respiratory therapist here? Because I don't know how to, so like, come on, like, get with the program. And even now, like, I do understand for me, I say, look, if you're going to volunteer during this time, make sure there's proper PPE, that your needs are getting met, even if you're just a volunteer. We want you to be safe. But people saying, hell no, I'm not going to be going out there right now, blah, blah. And they're like, if I'm going to go there and my face is all covered, I'm not going to meet the right people anyway, and this and that. And it's a little disappointing to hear because it's not a medicine, and the pursuit of healing others is not quid pro quo. It's not always about what can you do for me. You're in a service industry, believe it or not. You are going to get paid for these excellent skills that you come equipped with when you're trained, but you should always not be thinking like, how can I get a letter? How can I, if you do a good job, people will notice, trust me. People will remember you. People will ask about you.
You want to be that resident that, like my former program director said, I just want that guy to be over with because he was so difficult to deal with. He was politically connected in the United States government. He was a difficult person to interact. He make your life and everybody's life miserable. He was blamed for sexual harassment of other residents. We just wanted him out. This guy was a trouble, and we wanted him out of the program so bad, but you had to watch your back because he literally was remarkably influential, and you did not want to mess with this type of guy. But you're going to be dealing with a bunch of people. You want to be that resident that is awesome, pleasant to work with, and if you're potentially in a residency track that is going for a fellowship pathway, you know that you're getting letters of recommendations from your attendings of 3 or 5 years in whatever you chose, potentially to get a nice letter of recommendation to make it into a fantastic fellowship spot, correct?
Yes, but Alonso, when you get to the fellowship level, there's another match and all that. But a lot of the recommending and stuff happens just like you go to like a specialty meeting. They can say, hey, Dr. Alonso, what do you think about this guy? You worked with him before? Oh yeah, 4 years, blah, blah, blah. And then they'll say, well, what do you think? I'm looking at his fellowship application, and you can just roll your eyes and walk away, maybe, right? Yeah. And that verbal thing will be enough for them to think about this person, whether or not they're going to extend the interview or not. I get calls all the time for residents I've worked with now that I'm on the other side, even for fellows, like my program director really, because I was the first fellow in my program, he asked me, every incoming fellow, to talk to them, interview them, look at their potential, credibility in the program.
I cannot speak about other specialties or yours, but in my personal case, what we call the world of emergency medicine, the meetings throughout the year, the American Academy of Emergency Medicine, the American College of Emergency Physicians, we all gather together, and believe me, all the residents gather together once a year. We try to have fun and network. All the residency program directors have frequent meetings. They talk to each other. They know names. They know people. If you literally screw up, you're not going to get what you expected. If you shine, if you're professional, if you work hard, your own program director will do the networking with you to help you be successful.
Right. Absolutely. But we all also know there's no perfect situation. Sometimes there are programs that can be a bit malignant and difficult. Yeah. But just know that you can make what you want of your life once you're done with residency. It's something where you have to play by the rules. You have to do as much as you can to learn. And you really have to learn to deal with difficult situations. And that's what has to come across in your application initially.
Dr. Datta, one question about explanation of a training gap. A couple people have reached out to me and said, oh, doctor, sorry, I'm going to give you an example. I dedicated 2 years of my professional career to sell motorcycles. And I gave up medicine because financially medicine was not supportive enough to sustain my own family or myself. And I opened a motorcycles business, and I was XYZ doing with the motorcycles. And then I realized that medicine was my passion, and I decided to come back. But now I want to be a doctor in America. So how do you explain, and what's the most honest way, or if there's any way to really rescue yourself from an educational gap?
Okay. That's a double-edged sword, because a lot of residency programs do like people that are non-traditional applicants. Okay. So I was a non-traditional applicant. So I worked for a few years before I went back to medical school.
Okay.
So as a non-traditional applicant, I worked in pharmaceuticals. I worked on Wall Street, picked up all these, like the gift of gab, my mom calls it, there. So it depends. What did you do that you can spin to show them that, hey, this is going to be something that's going to be helpful for you?
Okay.
What happened with me in medical school, because of I guess the certain amount of poise that I bring to situations, or talking or speaking with, people in power, I was good when it came to public speaking or giving presentations. And I was able to pivot that and make that like a good thing in my interviews. What can you pivot? Maybe you can pivot and say, hey, I was a small business owner. I could sell a motorcycle to people who didn't think that they needed a motorcycle. Okay, so I could very well, I'm good at communication skills. I can sell a patient that is on the fence about getting cancer treatment and convince them that they need this treatment because it's what's best for them.
Wow, that's awesome. That's an awesome. I never look at it from that perspective.
Yeah.
That's why you are residency success.
Thank you so much. Yeah, no, I find a way. I mean, I really brainstorm most of the time to try to find a way to make everybody unique. Okay. Sometimes it's difficult because their personalities are very rigid, but most of the time, if they can follow some of the recommendation or pivot, you always have to be able to pivot, especially now, right? With COVID. Look at the skills you have, try to highlight them and use that in order to, make money at a time like this.
And let me ask you about that. And I had it as a part of my questions that I wanted to run by you. How your hobbies or experiences or interests in lives do matter during the interview? The things that you have done, like for me, would be tennis. I don't know.
That's very interesting. I think you have to have a little bit of confidence, okay, first of all right? And that only comes from being and working with someone, or let's say you've gone past that initial residency interview question jitters and you are able to handle the basics, okay? After that, it's like, I can say, Dr. Alonso, it must be such a good thing for you to be ER medicine in Florida. Do you see many gator bites? So, that'll get a little laugh.
Yes, absolutely.
Because we used to actually have that question when we would at University of Florida give the tour at UF, like, oh my God, do gators come out and just bite you? Because they would be like in a lot of the water bodies around campus because it's a huge lagoon.
And you're the Florida Gators, right?
Yeah, we're the gators. Chomp, chomp. So basically, you have to know your audience. You have to know, like you and I, if I was interviewing with you, I would know I could joke that way.
Oh, yeah. You need
if there was somebody else more buttoned up, let's say you're in the Northeast and the person has like cufflinks on and and they're very serious. It would take me some time to melt them down. Like during one of my fellowship, actually attending interviews, not fellowship. I was in fellowship and interviewing for attending position. It was a 2-day back-to-back interview with 20 people.
Wow, long.
I feel like the blood was sucked out of me by the end of each day. But one of the interviewees was a very, very tough neurocritical care attending who was of German origin, and she was very scary. Like everybody was scared of her. And so I thought to myself, I'm really tired. And I don't know how to crack her because I don't know much about her. I knew, like professionally, something about her. I just sat and I put the biggest smile I could on my face the whole time she was talking. And she really was just looking at her watch and I have to go, there's an unstable patient and this and that. After a while, you could see her just kind of decompress as I was smiling and nodding. And the energy you bring to that room is going to like cross over to that other person. Do you know what I mean? Just like if you're fidgeting and like shaking your leg or sweating, and I'll just be looking at the person like, what is going on here?
Yes.
So you have to set the tone. You don't let them control the environment in the room the whole time.
For our listeners, this has been a bunch of goodness. So let me wrap it up with part number 4, So I'm highly concerned what's going to be like. So I did great on an interview. Let's say that I did well and I felt good and I'm all pumped up. I had fantastic interview process. I was phenomenal with all this, my trips and my arrangements. I had no time delays. I had no issues. Everything went just perfectly, which is not true sometimes. And I make it to the post-interview process all the way up to match day. How do I manage or handle myself during this period, which is nerve-wracking? Some people just fall into pieces during this period. They don't know what to do. They don't know if they should contact the program or not. What can you say about that? From the moment I said goodbye to you, thank you, Dr. Datta, for your time, and I might see you back in July 1st or not.
Right. No, it's a very difficult time, and I feel for you guys. And I still remember match day for me. I said yes, and I to a pre-planned vacation, not realizing that was going to be match day. So I was like in Italy, staying right in front of the Vatican. It's great. I was praying every day, please God, don't forsake me now, But I still remember that, like I opened my match results, while I was like staying at this hotel in front of the Vatican. Maybe that's what did it, but
Wow.
Yeah, but so here's the thing, whether or not it's before the match, after match, you as a physician, especially with the amount of physician depression, suicide, anxiety that we have in our life, guys, it's not going to get easier. You think this is hard? Wait till you become a resident. You think residency is hard? Wait till you become a fellowship. Actually, fellowship, like, I really enjoy it. Even if it was hard, I loved it. And if you think fellowship's hard, wait till you become an attending, because you're always looking over your shoulder, right? At that time, oh my God, do I know enough? Am I going to do right by this patient? Did I do the right treatment? Did I do the right management? Could I have done more? So you are then responsible. There's nobody, like there's colleagues to ask, and there's always up to date and all that stuff, but there are certain things on the fly that unless you manage your time effectively, manage your anxiety, you need to find a way, whether it's sports, whether it's meditation, whether it's yoga, whether it's calling your best friend, whether it's there's app-based meditation things now, like Headspace, that's currently free for all healthcare workers.
I saw that.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that are out there that are even free. And if you have insurance, get a therapist, because God knows that we need the anxiety control and the way to manage our anxiety. You should be, as a physician, talking the talk and walking the walk, meaning if you're telling them that, hey, eat right, don't smoke, don't be obese, and then you're sitting like looking like a mess in front of them, it doesn't really come across really well. So talk the talk and walk the walk, and it'll just follow. Your anxiety control will follow once all the good habits are in place.
Or write some thank you notes. What do you think? I wrote mine in a little thank you note. I got a package of like 25 different colors, different envelopes, very professional. And I spent probably 5 minutes writing a specific personalized message to every dependent person that I interview with. Or do you recommend email, since we're in the email type of technology days? In my time, email was developing, not the quickest, easiest to access thing, but I think a handwritten note.
I know this might be overkill, but I do both. I send an email, which is a placeholder, and then I send a short handwritten note referencing something we talked about. Hi, Dr. Alonso, I'm so glad that majority of our patients are not gator bites. Look forward to working with you in July.
Yes. Nice hook.
That's personalized. That's something you're going to remember that we talked about, right?
And how much should you bother the residency program director or the program coordinator during the process of your interview on the match? Should be just calling every week? Should be just wondering if, I know that we're not supposed to kind of have off the eras conversations or interactions, but is there something that people ask you about?
Yeah, I mean, it's okay to give them a gentle reminder, but just remember the program coordinator is only one. And if it's a big program, they might even have some backup support. They're doing all of this work. And it's a terrible process all around. I hate it. Whoever got the Nobel Peace Prize for the match thing, I just want to find them or whoever her and tell them a piece of my mind, because it's not fair, guys. It's not a fair thing. You could do everything right and then still get screwed by the match algorithm, unfortunately. But you do your best. Try not to bother them too much. Giving them a letter of email of interest might be perfectly okay, but your time to shine is really that interview. Really thank everybody that you come across at that time, and give them the hook. Give them the something to remember you by, okay? And it doesn't mean that you're the era of perfection, okay? When people ask me about my weaknesses, I reveal some really strange weaknesses where they're just like, wow, really? Can't believe you told me that. But that'll help them remember you, as long as you could turn it around and show them you've improved somehow. And
one last question, Dr. Datta. How do I know after an interview if I did well or not? Some people are completely clueless at the feeling.
It's difficult. You do get a sense of a connection with a person, right? Just like, let's say, think about it. When you went on a date with somebody, you knew.
With my wife.
Yeah.
It went well.
If you're not now that you're married, but whenever you went on the first date with your wife, at that time, you had a connection. You felt it. There's something there I've used this phrase before, that French je ne sais quoi, something you cannot explain, right?
Yes, yes.
Something you cannot, that there might be a connection. I know it's difficult, guys, but there's no absolutes in this world. If everyone can tell you the day that you're going to die and what you're going to do in the future, life would not be a challenge. But you rise to the occasion and you do the best you can. And, after I put in my all every day and I do my best and I spend my time wisely, before I go to sleep or when I won't be disappointed. It'll hurt if I don't make it, but the disappointment will be less.
Well, it's been a fantastic hour plus of your time. Every time that I talk to you is a huge deal of energy, good vibes. I'm going to tell you this. I know that we spoke in a very general fashion, just kind of giving everybody a hint on what they can expect for those that are completely unaware or don't know what it's going to be like. That was the goal of this interview. But obviously, this process is individualized and it's very personal. Every interview process is different for every person. Some people might tell you fantastic stories. Some people might tell you horrible stories. But I want to give you the skills and the professionals like Dr. Shae Datta, that through her website and so through her Facebook page, Residency Success, has lots of good things to offer. When people call me, I said, get a hold of Dr. Datta. She's the one. So I just hope that they contact you, they get a hold of you. How do we get a hold of you, Shae?
Yeah, so residencysuccess2000@gmail.com, very easy. Or you can just go to the Facebook and look up Residency Success. It's called MD to Attending, the Facebook page. Very easy to find me, not hard. But I want to thank you, Dr. Alonso, for taking so much of your own time, basically to educate the masses and get the word out about this subgroup of people that are really struggling. And I really want to tell you that you're helping a lot of people, and that's just really good karma. There's a lot of things that I do on my page and on these podcasts. This is completely, that's like my time. You know what I mean? I could have been sipping a pina colada right now because it's sunny for the first time in days in New York, just relaxing. But I chose to do this so that I can help you guys. So just remember that, there are people in your corner rooting for you, even if you don't feel that way right now.
Well, this has been amazing. One call to action, guys. I know that this podcast is going to be super influential and you're going to love it. Just do me a favor. Share it, post it, tweet it, email it, send it on an envelope, tell other people, get together in Facebook groups, tell them about us, tell them about Dr. Datta, and just get the message out there, because the message that we're giving here for free it will help us by making us grow. And if we grow, we can influence more people. We're here creating a network, making friends or enemies. I doubt it. For the most part, I have had very good reviews so far. All 26 reviews have been 5 stars. So just keep them coming, make us grow. And the call to action is, that I forgot, let's help me please beat the record of downloads as of last month. So I'm going to try to post this within the next 24 hours. Let's see if we can make it happen by the month of April to beat 2,000 downloads and see how it goes. As I said, Dr. Datta, thank you for joining me today. It's been an amazing quality time and just full of goodness from the very beginning to the very end.
Thank you so much.
God bless you. Have a great day.